Well, it's time now for Tech 24, and today we ask the question, should kids be on social media? It's a debate that's been going on for many years now, but from the rollout of a new age verification app to an emergency European summit and courtroom threats in Australia, the world's governments are moving fast. Well, joining me now in the studio is Tech 24's Charlotte Lam. Good to see you, Charlotte.
Good to see you.
So there's been a lot happening this week on this story, so fill us in.
Well, there is a lot to bring you up to date with. So we're going to start on Wednesday when the EU announces a new age verification app, saying it's technically ready and it's about to be rolled out at any moment. This is designed to limit children's access to social media. It's described as open source, zero-knowledge proof technology, privacy preserving, and set to work on any device. And so for years, social media giants have argued that you can't verify age online without building a surveillance infrastructure that's worse than the problem you're solving. President Ursula von der Leyen framed this as Europe's answer to that debate, saying, yes, you can, it is possible. What we saw next was cyber and privacy experts. Immediately, they dove into the source code and they reported several issues with the app's design. Within 24 hours, social media was flooded in claims that it could be hacked. You can see here we're showing a video now of one security consultant. He posted this video on X showing a full bypass in just 2 minutes, saying you can essentially delete the PIN-related values from the app settings file and then restart it, and then you can pick like a new PIN and those apps show credentials from the old file and that lets the hacker use them as if valid. That post hit 3.2 million views alone. Telegram's founder then went one further, calling it a hackable by design. Now, the European Commission on Friday stood by its statement saying the app is technically ready. It then told its reporters that, as of course, like anything in this environment, in this industry, it can always be improved. So we'll just wait and see what happens next.
All right. And this online row comes, of course, as the EU and many of its member states are in the middle of, rolling out ways to check people's ages online. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron has convened what felt like an emergency summit on Thursday. What exactly happened and what came out of it?
Well, European nations are ramping up the pressure on social media companies, responding to a public outcry over child safety fears. And they're responding to this backlash, but they are risking a backlash from the US, which is home to Meta's Facebook, of course, and Elon Musk's X. So Macron brought these leaders together from Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, and Ireland on a video call Thursday alongside von der Leyen, urging for a cohesive approach to protecting children online. Several European countries are considering restrictions, but he says these proposals vary with different minimum rules and systems to protect the children, and he says this risks a patchwork of rules. Now, the experts have been very clear-eyed about the limits so far. VPNs remain a significant workaround. Then there's obviously the problem of children or teenagers using their parents' verified accounts. That's also hard to stop. But enforcement is only part of the problem here. We also see advocacy groups. They're now raising the flag on new risks. They're suggesting that with the rapid development of artificial intelligence, children are now seeing things online differently as well. We can now play you a sort of that.
AI is definitely amplifying all the risks that are already linked to social media. Some risks are, for example, linked to misinformation that can be created through AI. We know that children and young people in general are relying on social media to have news, to be informed. So definitely if children are constantly exposed to social media and they are not empowered on how to recognize fake news from actual real news, this is a very important consideration.
So all this traces back to Australia, I believe, because they've passed the world's first social media ban back in December. How is that actually going? Because I understand there have been some developments there, hasn't it?
Well, it was generally well received worldwide. The early numbers were quite impressive. Australia said 5 million accounts of underage accounts were deactivated in the first few months, and this even caught the attention of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who are currently on tour down under. Take a listen.
Australia took the lead, right? Your government was the first country in the world to bring about a ban. Yeah. So many countries have now followed suit, but it should have never got to a ban. It should never ever have got to a ban. And now that the ban is in place, Now what follows? Because the companies themselves have to be accountable.
For now 10 years, every day for 10 years, I have been bullied and attacked. And I was the most trolled person in the entire world, man or woman. And I'm still here. And so when I think of all of you and what you're experiencing, I think so much of that is having to realize that, that industry, that billion-dollar industry that is completely anchored and predicated on cruelty to get clicks, that's not going to change. So you have to be stronger than that.
So both incredibly encouraging of the ban there. But Australia's e-safety commissioner released its full compliance report just recently, and it did find some major gaps. It found what it called poor practices that encourage children and teens to access the platforms, including allowing underage users to repeatedly attempt age assurance until they finally pass, and allowing them to open new accounts after being kicked off. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok, they're all under formal investigation now for suspected non-compliance. The communications minister says they've spent all summer building a case, and these platforms now could face a 50 million Australian dollar fine if they're taken to federal court.
All right, thank you for bringing us those updates. So encouraging stuff, but still a lot of work to be done. Thank you very much. That's Charlotte Lam for Tech 24, and thank you to you for watching.